It's Legal Tuesday. It's back. We're back. He's back. Yeah, man. So, set foot on this legal minefield. Correct. In 2025. And there's no better way to do that than with the one and only advocate, Eliud Ngugi Esquire. He's in studio partner, Ngugi Mburu Advocates. And do you know what? He's part of the team that we call LSK. Just something there with editorial. Okay, this is a man who's dying things, going places. But you know what? One amongst the places that he does go is that he comes here every Tuesday to do the Lord's work. It's pro bono, man. You've got yourself a legal question. So imagine, ask of us, and then we shall ask of him. How do you do that? Well, get onto Spice FM KE. It is a hashtag Spice Drive. Hashtag what is called hashtag Legal Tuesday. I was about to shrub that. And then uliza hiyo swali before you go to somebody's chambers, even his. Ask it here, then we'll ask of him. And then if the answer is satisfactory, good to go. If not, we ingia chambers alafu fungua file, game the game. All right? So, Wakili, by the way, welcome, brother. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
You crossed well?
I crossed there well.
How's La Familia?
Amazing.
The young one started sleeping?
Yes.
Good. Are you... by the way, I needed to ask. Without I was about to sound very insensitive. When the child...
You're a wise man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
When the child wakes up in the middle of the night for the child wants dish, are you also obliged to wake up so that we can bond? In fact, no. That is the wrong question, by the way, Jeff. The question I should ask, from a legal perspective, I met my guy called George, okay? And George's wife also had the pleasure, okay, of giving birth. Now, this is the thing. So what happened is that, let's call her Mrs. George, ne? Mrs. George told George. And George is still, obviously, she's on maternity leave, right, bro? But then for George is a businessman, okay? He doesn't have time for such like things, okay? We've got to keep it moving. Somebody has got to buy the diapers, all right? But what Mrs. George, in her wisdom, said that every time in the middle of the night, she would wake up, because obviously child is awake, ne? She would wake up George and say, my friend, I am breastfeeding. Arise. And get involved in this process. So George with his blinkers would be like, how? I don't have breasts. And even if I do, they don't have milk. Why am I awake? So advise George, because I'll tell you, advise George first. What should he... Let me tell you what George did first.
How is this a legal question?
George moved to another room. Now, the legal question is...
He wants to file for a divorce? or for custody of this young baby? I can help. I can actually help.
Did George do the right thing? In your legal opinion?
Legal opinion?
Yes, legal opinion.
No, it was not the right thing to do.
You should have stayed in situ. Let's talk legalities, my brother. So, listen, what is your handle, by the way, there, advocate?
Oh, Wakili Ngugi on X, TikTok, and Eliud Ngugi on LinkedIn.
It's been a long 2 weeks, yeah. But clearly you're back. Now, let's do housekeeping first. Things that have been happening in the legal sphere, as far as we're concerned. A quick one. There's something that seems to be building. That when we last left you, and when we last discussed this topic, it was Law Society of Uganda, and I don't think you people of the Law LSK here got involved, but it was about Martha Karua was not allowed to appear in any court in Siboland. Clearly that changed. When and why?
No, we participated.
Because, as a LSK?
Yes, because at some point, they wrote a very rude letter.
I remember you, yes.
And we responded and said, according to her status, Mother Karua's status, Honorable,
as an SC,
as a senior counsel,
Yes.
she deserves more respect.
Sharp.
And when it comes to our East Africa relationship, then we deserve to have her given that audience.
So you threatened them?
We did not threaten. It was just to remind them that we are a community.
Okay.
And next time we may need our help
Right.
here in the country.
Okay.
I believe that issue has been resolved now, and she was able to appear
Indeed. In fact,
in court.
she's there today, and ironically, it's the Ugandan lawyers that have been. They've been locked out? That's what I was looking for. Of that, I don't know if it's in a barracks or something. Yeah, they've been locked out, and she's the one who's basically holding fort. Yeah. And yes, it's like the tables have been turned as far as that's concerned.
You know, one of the things you agree with me is that the way we are trained as Kenyan lawyers
Yes,
is to have decorum,
which is true.
when we are addressing
That is true.
our judges and
Yes.
our magistrates.
Yes.
And therefore, you have to give the other person a chance. And that's why when you come to court, a physical court,
Yes.
you'll find that when one person is addressing the judge or the magistrate, the other lawyer has to sit down
But yes,
and allow
yes.
one person to finish,
Yes.
the other lawyer to finish what he's saying.
Yes.
And once they are done, they arise and now
Yes.
respond to those issues.
Indeed.
There's something we call right to respond,
Yes.
or right to answer.
Yes.
And so probably that's what Mother Karua, senior counsel, took
Right.
in the
I
court
see.
martial
I see.
in Uganda,
Yes.
and was able to show that decorum,
But
even with her seniority as a
Yes.
senior counsel,
yes.
as a well-known politician.
Right.
She does not, and I even remember a few days ago when we had the applications in court to have the bodies of the abductees
Right.
presented.
Right.
There's a way she was conducting herself in a very
I remember that. Yeah.
and addressing the court and
Yes.
telling the court,
Yes.
make sure that it was an issue to do with a fine. Review that fine.
Yes.
When Senator Mtata and other activists were arrested and taken to court.
This 1,000 bob thing.
Yes.
Right.
And she was able to make an argument to have that fine
Yes.
reduced.
Yes.
And it was actually reduced.
Okay.
But you could tell from how she presented, there were no emotions being thrown all over the place. And I believe that's what was taken to Uganda.
So we would say for LSK, that is the gold standard, the way she conducts herself in court, because not all of members do the same. We will not point pencils or wag fingers. But
99.9% of our members in the law society
I like that.
are well trained.
I'm talking
You
about
just
the-
find a few who don't adhere to those rules.
Indeed, and we will not highlight or pinpoint them, but they're notorious. That said, speaking of decorum, and from the layman, which is the public, which is from this side of the fence, there's something that's going on, and we're wondering, how is this really going to play out? Over the course of the holidays, in fact, I'm told now it's got to the tender stage. Okay, we have senior lawyers. All right, I'm being very careful here. Who have now it's got to the stage where we're printing T-shirts, and these T-shirts are for, in terms of the issue concerning the stay in office or the departure from office of Her Lady the Chief Justice. The ordinary mwananchi, which means clearly not an escort,
Which
is
means
watching this and
Kwach.
yes, and we're wondering, what's the 411 here, brother? And is there actually will heckling and buying and wearing of T-shirts add to the clarion call? Will it affect that office that is the office of the CJ and the Enyewe? This populist movement is too much. I must go. Will it make a difference if we all buy T-shirts?
You go buy t-shirts, and we need to support our economy, our kadogo economy, help one another, bring home an income. It's January, and we need and people need school fees, But even as a country and as lawyers, we understand that we have the Constitution, and we have other laws and procedures on how to go about certain issues. And so if today I'm unhappy with the conduct of the Chief Justice, there's a procedure of removal of a Chief Justice.
Yes. So let me just cut you off for the past there. Mm-hmm. So obviously the listener is quite come and answer the obvious question. Does she have security of tenure? And what does security of tenure mean, brother?
She doesn't. Rather, no, sorry. Yeah. You can remove a Chief Justice, okay? And there's no one judicial officer that you cannot remove. She's not there permanently, just the same way even the president can be removed from.
So let's be clear. This new constitution, that phrase security of tenure then no longer exists for any office. When you think about it, right? Yeah,
when you think about it,
even the speaker can the speaker be removed?
Can be removed. You can remove the speaker of the National Assembly.
Yes,
and there's a procedure for it. Yeah. When it comes to the judiciary, if a judge is found not able to perform their functions,
yes,
and there's a case that was, I think we've discussed on this show,
yes,
where the judge had a mental condition.
Yes, we have.
And there was a petition that was filed, and they were removed. And if a judge is bankrupt or incompetent, or just has breached some of conduct, or even with some misbehavior of that judge, then either the Judicial Service Commission, by its own motion, can start a process of removing that judge, or you and I, as members of the public and members of the public who utilize our court systems and who either are aggrieved or you're just aware that there is some misconduct of a certain judicial officer, you can make your application through a petition and file it before the Judicial Service Commission. And so that's the procedure set out under Article 168 of the Kenyan Constitution.
So I'm going to ask you the daft question. Then this movement that is being started by that's being led by two very intelligent and experienced lawyers. We'd assume they know this, ne?
We know this.
Yes.
And maybe
this being the procedures.
The procedures. Yes. Of course, they are lawyers. They understand the Constitution. They are my seniors in the profession.
Yes.
We know that.
Right.
And so I keep wondering what is the end goal, because what the Constitution provides is that any person can make this application.
Right.
Or petition. Right. Can petition the JSC for the removal of a judicial officer or even the Chief Justice. And if it's affecting the Chief Justice, then the procedure is that once the JSC comes across that petition, they will review it and update the president, who forms a tribunal. And the tribunal, if it's in the case of a Chief Justice, will be chaired by the Speaker of the National Assembly. There will be an advocate of 15 years. There will be 3 judges from highly regarded, this is article, highly regarded common law jurisdictions. So it doesn't have to be the Kenyan judges sitting in that tribunal. So 3 superior court judges from common law jurisdiction. They can pick from South Africa, they can pick from England, they can pick from any other country to come and review this petition on the removal. They
can also pick from Uganda and Tanzania.
Yes, and any 2 persons with experience in public affairs. And once they make this decision...
What is that? A civil servant? What is experience in
public? Yeah, it could be a
former civil servant.
Most likely, because it's the president appointing.
Okay.
It could be
like
most
Francis
likely.
Mudaura or...
Yes. public affairs.
Yes. Okay.
Some retired ambassador someone who has served or is well respected in the society.
Right.
So once we make that decision, then the president makes the determination. But there's a but to this provision, is that any judicial officer, and in our case, if the Chief Justice is unhappy with the determination of this tribunal, the recommendations made by the tribunal to the president, and let's say the president then removes this judge, what you're likely to have is that judge can file a review, or rather a case, can file a case in the Supreme Court of Kenya.
But she's the president of the Supreme Court of Kenya.
And now she's the president of the Supreme Court. And because of the period of time that she has served in this position, most of these judges in the Supreme Court are her friends.
Yes, they are friends. Yes, they are friends.
And therefore, it will be very interesting to see how, let's say, the Deputy Chief Justice rules.
Yes.
How she argues and reasons out in that judgment.
Can they recuse themselves?
Petition.
And the Supreme is only 7.
No, this is something I would want to see happen.
Yes.
Because we haven't had such a scenario.
Right.
And I believe the authors of the Constitution of Kenya may have foreseen how this would play out.
Okay.
I'm curious to see how it would today. And maybe that's why now these senior lawyers are printing t-shirts.
You know, you are my friend, and you're also a very well respected member of that said estate. But so I'm not going to ask you a fair question, but
ask the listener.
Yeah. But we see this playing out till the end.
How?
No, they wanted this. It's going to go to some sort of conclusion. It's not going to fizzle out.
It may not, but it may.
As in the fire's burning.
The fire is still burning.
Yes.
And what date are we
7th
on today?
Baba.
Which year?
2025.
When is the next election?
Ooh, it's now just around the corner. 2 years, boss.
2 years to the next election.
Yes. Wow, time flies. Yeah.
I will leave it at that.
Indeed. Now, speaking of years, the year's just changed. January is obviously the beginning of a calendar year. And with that comes obviously a lot of change. Some I've seen even the date being the 7th. I still see a lot of moving trucks. And then you're paying your licenses, you're paying insurances, you're paying fees. Now I want you to go back to this. And by the way, listen up. It's a very interesting ruling, and we'll talk about the Supremes. That happened early in last month. Obviously, last month would be in December. This case, by the way, in a nutshell, happened. Wakili is going to break it down for you. But it happened over the COVID period. There's a campus, JKUAT, that had an annex. I call them annexes. In, is it Nakuru?
Yeah, Nakuru.
And then COVID happened. So obviously, during COVID, they was locked down, shut down. Okay? And as Mutai Kagwe says, if you deal with it accordingly, it will accordingly deal with you. Remember, what was he saying? Anyway, that saying, we'll get it. Jeff, do you remember the saying? Anyway, we'll get it. The thing is, now, then the campus had leased property in Nakuru Commercial Business District. What happened?
So, of course, JKUAT went to court, or rather terminated their lease from this landlord. And upon termination of the lease, the landlord was unhappy because when it comes to leases, long-term leases, what the law provides is that you need to pay the balance of the lease period that was left there. There's never a termination clause in a lease. So if you get into a commercial structure and you go in for 10 years and within 5 years you decide I am going to leave. I'm tired or I cannot afford to pay rent. The law has previously been that you should pay the balance of the tenancy.
Wow, so if you're there 5 years and you're signed for 10, the other 5 years you have to pay.
You have to pay. And so landlord goes to court, the fight, the case moves all the way. Remember, COVID happened in 2020.
Yes, it's 20.
and it moves all the way.
Yes.
They go to the Court of Appeal and then to the Supreme Court. And now the Supreme Court, in this determination, says that because they failed to issue a notice,
this
JQuat,
yes,
they should only pay the notice period.
Okay.
And the notice period is equivalent to how often you pay your rent. And they were paying quarterly.
Yes.
Rather than pay the balance of a period.
Wow, so if your notice period was monthly, then they would have just paid a month.
Yes, so we took it as a contract, just as a contract, not as what previously was the law. And so on doing that, the law now has changed, because if you're in a commercial building and you need to terminate your lease, you can go to court. If your landlord insists that you have to pay the balance, you can go to court and use this authority or this judgment that was issued by the Supreme Court.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
This only applies to commercial leases, Esquire?
Yes, it only applies to commercial leases, because when it comes to the short-term leases, where you have a lease, let's say your house, for example,
yes,
most of the tenancy agreement will be for 1 year,
yes,
or even 2-3 years,
yes,
and that falls under protected tenancy.
Yes.
So when it happens under protected tenancy, then you find the law is on your side, and you are only supposed to be issued a proper notice, or you as a tenant should be able to issue a proper notice to your landlord. So if you pay rent monthly, issue a 1 month notice and terminate. And if your landlord does not allow you to access your items, then you can rush to the rent tribunal.
Yes.
And the rent tribunals are based in major towns, and you have the chairman of the tribunal make that decision, or even allow you to now leave the premises. But also the question on the commercial leases then brings up the question on, when you are taking up a commercial space, you need to be careful and very vigilant to make sure that one of the clauses in your lease should include the force majeure, or what we call an act of God. You should have a clause on such an issue, so that this is an unforeseen circumstance. Like today, there were tremors or earthquake experience in China.
Yes.
And so if
China has got very, very problems.
So it happens.
Why does God they always do this to China?
It happens, an act of God like that one, and you're not able to continue paying rent. Or like in our case in 2020,
yes.
COVID happens.
Yes.
You can no longer afford, or maybe business, because of the economy goes down, and you no longer are able to make the sales that you were hoping for.
Indeed.
If you had a clause highlighting and saying, in case of an act of unforeseen circumstance,
yes,
for example, economic shake or political instability, or crazy rains like El Nino, then you can automatically exit, and you will not find yourself fighting with your landlord. Then, even as you sign that lease, you should be able to have clearly structured termination clauses. Look out for that. I always look out and help my clients look out for termination clauses, because if relationships can never be guaranteed, or even your business cannot be so much guaranteed.
Yes.
So in case you're not able to continue with that relationship of a landlord and tenant,
yes,
what is your way out? So you need to have a termination clause that allows you to have the easiest way out. So for example, you're able to issue a notice, a proper notice that will not hold you back for too long. So you're not signing a lease that says you have to issue a notice, let's say for 6 months prior. You know, that means that even if you can no longer afford, you have to just sit in that structure,
yes,
paying your rent. Yet,
surely,
if you just issued a reasonable period, like 1 month or 2 months, then you'll be able to exit. Other clauses like a refund of your deposit, maybe have it structured in a way that once you issue that notice, you could also get your payment done before you leave that premise. Otherwise, you issue a notice, you have a clause that says upon exit, landlord shall do the repairs, etc., and it is left to the landlord to maybe pay you back your money.
Yeah.
When you find yourself in a situation where you have already moved out of Machakos, and you can't even travel back to go follow up on your on your deposit.
By the way, yes.
But even as a landlord, these clauses are also important so that you're able to just close on these issues. You're not being taken to court. So precision on drafting. That's why you need to get legal advice when you're entering into premises and when you are signing any even tenancy agreements.
I like that. Where are chambers again?
At Wakili Ngugi.
Now
on X.
Now listen, it's just time, and this one is a hot potato topic. Yeah. Actually, no, we're going to leave that until next week. Okay, so that we structure it right, indeed. Because now, let's get speaking of money. This involves treasury, because the laws have changed. And I don't know if I want to say it's treasury or the Kenya Revenue Authority or a bit of both. So this is the question. Somebody's written, by the way, thank you for recapping what's been happening over the past couple of weeks and getting us up to speed. But let's go to the question today. Somebody's written and says, hi, Wakili. I've been a member of a SACCO for a while now, but I recently discovered that it is not accredited. So first of all, you're going to have to break down what the hell does that mean. That's number one. Number two, some members have defaulted on their loans. And we are now being informed that we cannot access our savings until they repay. I'm concerned that the SACCO might collapse, or I could lose my money. I'm unsure about the legal steps I should take. What would you advise? Now, Esquire, before you dig deep into this one, I don't know if we all knew about what was called the DPF, Deposit Protection Fund. And I remember this from back in the days of Kina Trade Bank and hope I'm not just throwing names of banks out there. But where depositors were agreed, well, Elliot Giga Esquire had 100 mic, and then Edward Kerry Francis had 150,000. But everyone was guaranteed the receiver manager would come in, then you got like everyone got 100 G's, and then God help you all. First of all, what are the rules that this new regime? Was it called the new regime? What is the new regime as concerns to SACCOs? Do we know there, brother?
Yeah.
Please, because this is very important. Because I know KRA and Treasury, and now they've basically put the spotlight on SACCOs. What's changed?
So you find that we have two regimes.
Yes.
There is the Cooperative Society Act, and there's the SACCO Society Regulation Authorities Act.
Very good. These are new.
SACCOs of SASRA is new.
Okay.
So you find that
I like the way it did that.
It has a special. It has certain tasks that it performs.
Yes.
But even before we go further, did you know that effective 1st of January,
6 days ago?
Yes, 6 days ago. Microfinance cannot call you to harass you on behalf of some of your friends.
This is important. So, what are you saying? So, for example, I borrow money from Jeff FX.
Yes.
And Jeff FX really asked me for my contacts. And they see that, you know what, because Google is my guy, and that's my darling, Vicky, they can no longer call Google and Vicky.
Call me to tell me
that
to talk to you to pay,
Okay.
So according to the
since when?
Amendment
that is,
of the Microfinance Act.
Since the 1st?
Since the 1st of January this year, that happened. So in case you receive some of those phone calls,
I can see a lot of defaulters doing cartwheels right now. Go on.
in case you receive such calls,
you tell them to go and eat dried fish.
There's a law. There's a law that protects you from such, and go after them.
I like that.
Yeah.
This is why he's here. That one is good. That's number one. And then number two, I don't know why I'm so happy, but next.
No, number two, we're basically just saying that first, on the question, SACCOs are not accredited. SACCOs are either regulated or licensed.
What does accreditation mean? Is that a fair question?
I think the listener
yes.
was meant either licensing
yes.
or regulated.
Right. Now, so banks obviously regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya.
Yes.
Who regulates? Let's use the word regulate. SACCOs.
So SACCOs are regulated by the Cooperatives Act.
Okay, so that's a ministry.
That's an act.
Yes.
But the ministry that regulates them is the Ministry of Cooperatives.
Oh, oui. Indeed. Okay. Who's the
but then they have to be licensed. They have to be licensed
by
cooperatives.
It's cooperatives, ne?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what is the law? I'm talking about the current one, Esquire. What is this about people defaulting on their loans? Vis-a-vis, yes, because you've guaranteed me, right? I default. And the process is very interesting in SACCOs, right? You'd know unless you're a member of one, but also you're just a sharp pencil. What happens on defaulting? Has that changed?
So you find I'm a member of a SACCO, and you see, as you join a SACCO,
yes,
you sign some of their rules.
Yes.
And the SACCOs will have some rules that one, if I guarantee you monies or somebody guarantees you, you have an obligation to make sure that you first clear your debts.
Yes.
And money cannot be released to you if you have not cleared your debt and someone else has guaranteed this debt. You get it?
Yes.
And so it will be then in the right mind of the SACCO to actually refuse to release your money if you had guaranteed somebody. So you tie yourself with someone who you have guaranteed. Even though you are not the one who borrowed this money, you have tied yourself to that person until they pay up.
Okay, that makes sense. So that has not changed.
It has not changed.
Okay.
So that should be okay. That should be fine.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Now, but sorry about this, Papa, because also a lot of this is financial stuff. But then again, you're also a money man.
I got an A in banking law.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. You're also a money man. Now, the powers that be, I'm going to, because I don't know whether this is Kerry or the ministry. They are they're tightening up on the operations and the way SACCOs are managed. So, is there a risk of, are they trying to streamline them, or are they trying to cut them down? Because like they said for banks, they want to have their minimum float at the CBK to be a certain amount, so a lot of banks are going to fall out the way, all right? Especially the smaller banks. Is there a rule change that might see to the end of certain SACCOs?
So first, clarity here. If a SACCO is holding more than 100 million shillings, there's a requirement that it needs to be regulated by the SASRA. So SACCO's Society Regulation Authority. And SASRA has a duty of licensing, regulating, promoting and supervising SACCOs. And so for that category,
Are they new or have they been doing this?
We've been doing this
since the beginning?
Yes.
Indeed.
And then for SACCOs which do not have such an amount, you find them, they are only licensed.
Okay.
They're just licensed to operate. But you have a remedy where there is maybe misconduct of a SACCO management to report them to the Commissioner of Cooperatives. And you can report to the Commissioner of Cooperatives. If, for example, like the listener, you tried making a request for payment of your money, or you wanted to leave the SACCO, you have your savings in that SACCO, you've been putting money in that SACCO, and they do not comply to that. So you can make a request to the Commissioner of Cooperatives.
Right.
And the Commissioner will do an inquiry on the operations of that SACCO. And you're left alone because there will be an inquiry on the operations of upon an application of not less than a third of the members of this SACCO.
A third of the members?
A third of the members.
No.
So you need
not
to mobilize.
less than.
Not less than.
Wow. Now there are SACCOs like the Teachers Union SACCO or Police SACCO.
So you see, you have a hard task.
Yes.
Of moving these people.
Because those are like tens of thousands.
Yes, but you see, when this misconduct happens, it do not only happen to you as a member.
Right.
Just one member.
That's true.
It will be a regular misconduct on maybe 100 or 50 members.
Right.
You've been trying to leave, or you've been trying to apply for loans. You've been trying, all those things.
Yes.
And if that happens, then mobilize a third. And even there's a requirement that you need to advertise for that special meeting that will would lead to the request to the commissioner to form this inquiry. So once this inquiry is made, the commissioner comes, and if the commissioner is satisfied, he may decide to dissolve the whole committee, because the committee is the one given the task to run this. And in the meantime, we'll form. So
committees fall in terms of, that's the leadership of the SACCO.
It's the leadership of the SACCO. And he's going to request that a new committee is formed. So you do an election, you have your members, new members come and undertake during this period of inquiry. And so as that happens and takes place, you may find your SACCO then in this inquiry being done, hopefully by a creditor, or rather an appointed auditor. They may be looking into the issues. How have you been managing your finances? The returns you've been filing, because every SACCO is supposed to file some returns to the commissioner. Are they in order? And if you find any error, then you may find that SACCO is deregistered, and it's deregistered, and you'll be advised to then go for insolvency.
Okay.
So insolvency process starts for you to be able to now access back your money.
Now, you see, Wakili, and this is the thing, and this is also a lot a headache that a lot of people kuingia ni rahisi kutoka ni ngumu. Why is it so hard to leave a SACCO?
I think because the objective of a SACCO is to grow yourself. It's under the Cooperatives Act. How did we come along or about the Cooperatives Act? It was for communities to come together and pool resources and grow together. That's a history of cooperatives.
I like that.
That's what formed some of the farmers would come together and form their own cooperatives, because they have something in common. They may be they are farmers. They sell coffee, or they sell milk, or they sell tea. So that is the whole objective. And in that objective, it was not foreseen that you come in, you farm for 2 years and 3 years and then leave. So that was the spirit behind cooperatives formation. And so the rules became very strict, that now, if you're unhappy with how your cooperative is running, then you have to move a motion and push for this leadership to leave, inquiries to be made, and a report to be filed, and most likely insolvency process where you can recover back your money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I love the way you have dissected that one. Good job. So here, you know how we usually do this. You now have this particular client. Okay? And we now know the rules and regulations as per 2025. Yeah, bo? This one guaranteed somebody color. And this person, no. In fact, the way this is put, it's like other members, not directly attached to said individual. Members are defaulting, but these ones cannot access their savings until said members repay. That is basically like gun to head guillotine kind of stuff. What are you advising this individual to do, Gatelo?
So you see, when it comes to you not being able to access your funds because you guaranteed someone who has refused to make good their payment, it was also a way for the SACCO to secure itself. You signed those rules. You may have to just either institute a legal case or find a way to push this person to clear their debt.
So wow, thank you. In a scenario like this, can this person then take those members who are defaulting? Can you take them to small claims court? Because short of me twisting your hand, there's what else can I do? Surely.
No, they're not members. It's someone you guaranteed. So it's you and I.
Yes.
We are friends.
Yes.
Or you've been recommended to me.
Yes.
You've been recommended to me because you are borrowing money in the SACCO.
Yeah. You guaranteed.
And you have defaulted.
Yes.
And now I cannot access my money.
Yes.
Until you pay off. So
can I take this person to the small claims court?
It's a contract between. You can take them to court, not small claims. You can take them to court.
Wow.
You can actually take them to court. But then you will have to also drag the whole SACCO to also be part of this. So you find some of the SACCOs would, when a member defaults in payment of a facility,
yes,
you find them pushing through court processes. Just the same way you borrow money from a bank.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. The same way you borrow from a bank and you default, and
yes,
lawyers and and auctioneers will come after you.
Yes.
It also happens in the SACCOs.
Oh, really?
Yes. So it would be advisable for this member to push the management of the SACCO to follow up with this defaulting member for them to be able to clear up.
Okay, so you said let's push in that direction. SACCOs generally now on firm ground, because you've said, you know what, it's up to 100 mic. Then if you're below 100 mic, you're
licensed, but you're not under SASRA.
Indeed.
So if you're below that, you have to now push members of your SACCO to come for a meeting. You advertise for that meeting, and you move a motion to have this petition made to the commissioner to make an inquiry. The commissioner appoints an auditor to come look into your books. A report is filed, and once the report is filed, then you have to go through the process of insolvency for you to recover back your money.
Wow.
So the process of insolvency, again, it's another long process that happens in the High Court. And do you know what happens? Trustees are appointed.
Wow.
So these trustees, or people we call administrators, will come, and in the meantime will be the ones to step into the shoes of this SACCO. So they file on behalf of all the members, and upon filing, then an advert is put in the Kenya Gazette, and you're informed about this. And so if you're a creditor, your money is in this SACCO, then you'll be required to make a request to also be listed as people who should be paid back. But when the case is finalized, what will happen is there's an order that has to be followed. So we first pay the trustees, they pay their expenses, they refund the person who initiated this case, they pay legal fees, then later on they pay all the taxes which are due, then finally they pay you. Yeah.
Listen, Baba, Ambrose has written in, and clearly they were not listening in at that particular point, but just asking, ask Wakili, what of those people who exit SACCOs, but the SACCO refuses to refund their savings or introduces a lot of deductions? You'd answered that. You're going to have to repeat that, please, brother.
So if the SACCO refuses to pay you...
No, Yani, they make you jump mountains and swim valleys to try and get your money out.
So if you decline, this is why you make the petition to the commissioner. And the commissioner then would make an inquiry, look into the books. And we have seen it's a long process.
Yeah, but this tends to be the norm for those people. And you did say, it was cooperatives, and the whole premise at the beginning was not that you'd be in there for the short term. But it was... It's more or less for life, right?
It's more like life.
Right?
Yes, because when you put in your money, when you put in your 20,000 and 10,000 shillings in that SACCO, you see, you cannot, in case you need school fees in January, you cannot go there and liquidate that amount.
There we go. Yes.
It's not the same kind of...
It's not a bank.
A bank that will... Yeah, it's not like a bank where you go in and get your money out.
Yes.
If you have such money in the SACCO, you have to borrow it.
Indeed.
And
yes.
And you have to pay the full amount.
Yes.
Yes. So if
Which
you
people
borrow...
I find very strange, by the way.
It's very strange, but it's very helpful.
I'm borrowing my money?
It's very helpful.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. So, in conclusion, what are you, in a nutshell, you got 1 minute, Esquire, what are you telling this individual to do?
First, well, we have answered the individual, but I think generally, if you are planning to join a SACCO, find out whether it is licensed. Secondly, if it's also part of SASRA, so whether it's also regulated. And this information is available. If you visit SASRA or you write to the Commissioner of Cooperatives, you're able to find this information on the SACCOs.
And
if you Google, some of the regulated SACCOs are gazetted.
Yes.
Yeah.
Small SACCO or big SACCO?
You're better off in a big SACCO. Yeah. There's security in the big SACCO.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I love the way he strode into 2025. Advocate Eliud Ngugi Esquire. Your handle again one more time, my brother.
Wakili Ngugi on X, TikTok, and Eliud Ngugi on LinkedIn.
Love it, partner Ngugi Buru Advocates. It has been a pleasure, Esquire. We shall see you next week. Asante sana.